We're back here with the CEO of Elevate, Norman, for another video for y'all. And today we're going to be talking about, every day we're talking about really important topics, but today we're
Right.
going to talk about a very, very important one, which is you did your job, you've gotten done with your tech sales boot camp, and
Yeah.
it may have been 3 or 6 months from now, Norman, but
Yeah.
you're still looking for your first tech sales job,
Right.
and maybe other people in your cohorts already landed.
Right.
What can these people do to still get a tech sales job?
This happens all the time. All the time. I think there are so many programs out there that will just give you every single promise in the world. And they'll say, it's only hundreds of dollars. And then you realize it's only hundreds of dollars, and there may be cohort sizes that are huge cohorts, and only one or two people got the job. And you're still out there 6, 7 months later because you said, oh, well, this makes sense. This was supposed to be a fast, cheap, easy way. And, they said they were better than every other boot camp out there, but the one or two people in the cohort that got the job, and you're sitting out here with the 8, 9, 10, 11, 20 other folks, and you don't have it. All right. So what happened? What went wrong? So you got some content. You put money out of pocket. You invested out of pocket. You had tons of content thrown at you, and there's no context to it. So how do you use all of that, right? You're out there by yourself. Maybe you found out how to use it, and now you're putting it and you're creating some messaging, and you're messaging folks the same message or the same template on LinkedIn, hoping to get an interview. You're not getting that interview. Why? Because there are hundreds of other people in that cohort using the same sort of templates. So now you got sold. It's only a couple $100 to get a job, but you actually look the same as everyone else because everyone else got sold the same dream. All right, fine. Maybe you got an interview. You've got an interview, but you're not doing well. You're not getting any offers, or you're not moving past the first, second, third round interview. And what do you do with that? There's no one at the program that's actually going to give you feedback or going to do a role play with you and see, oh, this is where you're not doing well in that interview, right? So you're just doing the same thing over and over, spinning your wheels and still getting nowhere from it, right? They've given you a bunch of content, but they haven't given you a methodology. How do you actually have interviews? How do you set up your resume? Maybe you get a template, but now you're putting that template in there, and guess what? Hundreds of other people have the same dang template. So now recruiters know exactly what not to look for, and it's the resume you just paid hundreds of dollars to get. All right. So this is a challenge that everyone has that goes through these programs, is that you think it makes you stand out, but because they're selling the same dream to hundreds or thousands of other people, you actually just become the new norm, and recruiters and companies look out for you, your resume, the template you're messaging out, and there's nothing tailored about it. You're not learning from any of the mistakes you're making. You're just sitting there 6, 9 months, a year later, don't have the job, and you don't have a coach or anyone around you to make you better, right? Because you paid your $500, you got the content, and that was it. There's nothing, no continuous opportunity. There's no specific capstone event like what we offer here at Elevate, where every month employers are saying they are there to interview you and only you. You don't get any of that opportunity because you just got the content. And now you're the sea of sameness with everyone else, sending the same resumes, the send emails, and getting nowhere. So it's really sad. It's sad. It happens all the time.
So, all right, taking that apart, instead of staying depressed, are there any is there any option to get out of that
Right.
state of
Right.
affairs?
Right. Well, so we absolutely love folks who come from these programs because they have some understanding of what's in tech and tech sales. So much of the talk we have here, Rich, is me and you talking about what is tech sales, what's the career. So if you already know your goal and you just need a better path to get there and maybe a team to get there with you and hold you accountable, you're going to do freaking amazing in companies and programs like Elevate, right? So in our programs like ours, if it's a structured cohort where the team and your instructors only focus on you, not the hundreds or thousands of other folks who got sold the same dream, but only focus on you, then they're going to be meeting with you daily, weekly to make sure that your skills develop. So it's not just complete this assignment, submit it back. It's we're going to have one-on-one conversations. We're going to have group conversations. We're going to challenge you and we're going to hold you accountable to being better. And the reason we do that is because you will have access to employers every month at the end of the month in our capstone events if you've done well, if you've scored well. So we're going to make sure that you do so by meeting with you weekly, daily, and in your classes to make sure that your skills develop. And then we are going to present you to employers, right? So if you are burned, don't be burned on the career path, be burned on the program that gave you nothing, right? And go and invest in programs that focus entirely on you and making sure you're successful.
Man, so how does that, aside from everything that you just listed, can you think of any other contributing factor why somebody still doesn't have the job?
Yeah. So there are a lot of opportunities that get missed when you go through some of the self-course content, the self-paced content that's out there. And you get that solved for when you have a program that's supporting you and giving you one-on-one attention and engagement. So for example, think about your career materials, think about a LinkedIn profile or your resume. There are templates, and then there's having someone support you and looking at and editing everything that you provided so that you don't look like everybody else out there, right? So you've got to have your resume right. You've got to have your LinkedIn right. You've got to be focusing and being able to get past what's called applicant tracking systems, which, many folks know. We can do a whole series on that. Then in the interview, if you have to have the right messaging to get the interview, and it can't be the same template over and over again because sales leaders and hiring managers have seen all this, right? So you have to have strategy, different types of messaging that resonate with buyers and that meet buyers where they are. You have to be able to do the job to get the job, right? Do the work and you'll get the results. So it cannot be the same old template that's been given to you by some cheap program. It has to be something that you've developed based on skills that you've gained. So that's getting the opportunity, right? And there's all different ways about doing it. That's messaging through LinkedIn, that's you're doing your cold call, that's your emails, etc. Video messaging, and you need to have a team that helps you get over that uncomfortability of making those first cold calls, right? So that you can be successful. Separate, going into the interview, you actually have to have a methodology to have that interview because the interview is the sale. So 9 times out of 10, students that come to us that came from a different program, they actually didn't even learn how to interview for sales. They weren't realizing that that is the sale. If you get the opportunity to interview, you don't win. That's just the beginning of the dance. You have to show in that interview that you know how to have a sales conversation. So that means having a methodology. You set the agenda. You ask qualifying questions. You have closing questions. There's a set criteria of questions that you're going to be asking. You close the sale, meaning you're the one asking for the next steps. Then you follow up, and that's how you end up getting the sale, right? All of that is strategy. And if you've been trained the right way, you already have that strategy. If you haven't been trained, just got a bunch of content, you're probably just sitting there like a lame duck, and nobody wants to hire a lame duck. So you need to have a process around that interview. And you need to have a process around the follow-up, right? All of this is actually skill and training that you should get. And if you get it in a one-on-one or group approach, you can get there, right? It's when you just kind of bought some content and a promise that you probably haven't put any of this into practice and you just don't have it.
That's crazy. I just wrote down right now exactly what you just said about the interview is the sale and the follow-up. A lot of companies actually look for those things because technically speaking, they're a lead right now for you. You are
Right.
trying to close a high ticket transaction. So how you carry yourself from the thank you letter that you
Yep.
send to them after
Yep.
your interview, how you're presenting yourself,
Yep.
uh, like the very subtle arts of like you just talked about. I wrote down here your resume template. This is what I see with a lot of other boot camps. They have a whole cohort of people saying that they were working on this side project called Money Tree. And the recruiters, all of a sudden, they get 30 people for Money Tree thinking, what, did this do a layoff? I'm just seeing Money Tree, Money Tree, Money Tree. And they're using the same title with the same
Yes.
company.
Yes.
The bullets are the exact same.
Copy
So
pasted from a template.
template. The only thing difference is the LinkedIn handle and then the
Yep.
name, the number, and then maybe the street address. So you are now giving them a strong indicator of who not to contact, which is the 37 people that just graduated from Money Tree.
Exactly. 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 And
So
I just want, everyone to kind of hear what Rich is sharing here is like copying the template and getting the template is not the key to success. It's not, it actually becomes the indicator that you're the person they should not hire because you haven't actually developed the skills. You just learned how to copy and paste. And that's what everyone sees. And so, just like Rich is sharing, that sale is the interview and what you do afterwards as well, right? So, when you're in this conversation, I've had employer partners. So, these are directors and VPs of sales who hire for these roles who've been very clear that they won't hire someone if they don't receive a follow-up email after the interview that details here's what we talked about, here's what was really exciting. I'm looking forward to having our next call on this date. Very simple. That is literally the formula, right? I didn't give you a specific template. I gave you the formula to use in your follow-up. And if you say that, you are more likely to get a job than not. In fact, there are some employers that will literally not give you the job, no matter how great an interview it was, if you can't give that follow-up.
I think that's also what I just wrote down here right now, why so many people are having such a difficult time navigating this transition is because if the company, if whatever camp, we won't name names out here, if they're actually producing tech sales, good help is hard to find for any business owner, for any business anywhere in the world. So if you were tech, hiring salespeople is actually one of the most difficult placements for any industry because you need quality to back it up. So if you're producing quality, companies are actually constantly reaching out to you where you should be able to have like a capstone or like a hiring fair where hiring managers are here because they know this company actually stands for quality.
Yeah.
For if you're working with a camp right now or any kind of community where they're just so lacking in bringing in those hiring referrals, it's because they're not producing quality, and it's because if you have a quality product to stand behind, it's easier for you to get those hiring referrals. So a lot of great takeaways there. So would you recommend that, for somebody that's already done, a whole tech sales boot camp
Yeah.
to go out there and still contact us?
Absolutely. I mean, it depends on how long can you wait, right? Like many of our students have been ripped off and said, well, I'm just going to keep trying. And then it's 9 months later and your savings are gone. And now you need a job. Actually, you needed a job last month, 2 months, 9 months ago. But now you pretty much need a job. Otherwise, it's the end game. And then you come into a program like Elevate, and all of a sudden your world looks a little different within 3 weeks, right? Because you're being given one-on-one challenge and accountability instead of just being thrown content. So it's always going to be the effort you put in, but I don't think you're set up for success if you've gone through a program and you're looking at yourself and it's still 4, 5, 6 months. You're doing what they told you to do, which is you're applying to a bunch of places and you're sending the same templated message and it doesn't seem to be working. There's a reason for that.
Oh man. Oh man, that's not good. That's not good at all. So with that said, if you've done a camp already, if you've done a program already, clearly you are committed. You have already done a lot of soul searching before you have decided to embark on this endeavor. And it would be a shame for you to have come so far and waste all of that knowledge and all that effort and all of that time and not see this thing through. What's the average turnaround time right here for one of the Elevate members coming into the program from start to, placement?
Yeah. So 60% of our students, 60%, right? Not we've enrolled 1,000 students and we only have 10 that land a job. Six out of every 10 are in a role within 90 days. That's fantastic.
What about
That
the
is
other
fantastic.
40%?
Right. So you have to decide, are you going to be that 60% or are you going to be the 40%? Because the 40% usually are the ones that don't really engage that much unless they start seeing everyone else get jobs. And then it's too late, isn't it?
Man, well, let's make sure we don't waste too much time before we get there. Schedule
Yep.
the call and go ahead and get help. Maybe you're doing everything that you are supposed to be doing on your end, but you're just not getting the support that you need, in which case you're just spinning your wheels.
Spin
So
your whip.
if you are the type of person that needs accountability and structure and you need somebody on your corner where what you need right now is somebody to tell you very clearly what is it that you need to do, when that
Right.
needs to get done by, and exactly how that needs to get done. And if you're stuck, they can show you how to get unstuck. Well, then you need to call Elevate and let us help you make the transition as soon as possible. So with that said, Norman, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this. We'll look forward to seeing you again next time.
Excited.